Before I start today, I would like to remind listeners that you can join my email list at ownyour5to9.com to receive a transcript of each podcast and additional resources, links, and tools referenced in each episode. Please also take time to leave a rating and a review to help more people locate this show. Today's subject is a continuation of a mini-series on mental health, and this episode is for informational purposes only. Today's focus will be a faith-based look at our thoughts, and I hope that you will find this show inspirational and encouraging. If you are overwhelmed or overcome with your mental health, I encourage you to reach out to a counselor, pastor, friend, or a licensed professional for additional support. You are listening to the Work-Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple: to bring harmony and balance to this world, starting with the family. There is so much more to life than the 9 to 5, and this show is designed to bring you inspiration, motivation, and practical solutions to bring balance and joy back to your life. Work-life balance is not a myth, it's a choice. Themes on this show range widely between faith, family rhythms, work, and lifestyle philosophies. You will also hear burning ladder essays submitted by our community of friends and listeners who ditched the rat race, beat burnout to pursue a more balanced and purposeful life. My hope is that this show and the stories shared will provide encouragement, motivation, and will provide some ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive into today's episode. King Solomon wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, one of my favorite books of the Bible. I can relate to the tone, which from my perspective checked the following boxes. He was frustrated with the hustle culture. He was frustrated by the wickedness in people. He thought becoming powerful and rich was overrated. King Solomon realized that wealth doesn't make people happy. He looked at the motives behind every person and made many conclusions about their foolish ambitions. And finally, which is the very start of the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon says, everything is meaningless. Solomon had lost his hope with the world at large. The wisest man to ever walk this earth is saying that everything we see, do, and participate in is utterly meaningless. He argued with his own pursuits and called himself out, that he was no better than those that were around him. What is the purpose? What is our purpose? Where does this all end, and who is even going to remember me? And who's going to remember you? These are all questions that Solomon addresses. I think he had a bad day when he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. I truly think he may have been fighting some depression, maybe some stinky thinking, or just negative thoughts that he didn't know what to do with. I really don't know, and this is only my personal speculation, because I was not there. But the tone and choice of words really leads me to think that he was a little bit over all of it. But don't get it twisted. Solomon was speaking the truth about his day and age and today's age. There is nothing new under the sun. These are Solomon's words that are so true today. Everything we toil for or worry about is like chasing the wind. If you missed my article on chasing the wind then, subscribe to my newsletter and get the links to the article where I go deeper on this point of the utter ridiculousness of our unhealthy ambitions. I get fired up every time I read the book of Ecclesiastes because I can relate to the emotion behind every word. Anyone who has ever gone through a season of burnout can relate to this book. Solomon's words resonate just as much today as they did 3,000 years ago. I look at myself and ask, Where is the hope when I feel that everything around me is pointless and meaningless? Well, Solomon's words weren't all doom and gloom. He was wise, the wisest that ever lived. And he ended his 12 chapters with a conclusion about the bigger vision, a conclusion to his own internal battle of thoughts. He says that at the end of the day, we are to fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Boom. This is wisdom. This is our reset button. This is where we can find hope in our dreariest, darkest, and overwhelming days. Over the last 2 weeks, I've highlighted the brains of the world's quickest and slowest thinkers. This week, I want to call out the values of the faithful thinker. I wrestled with calling today's edition either future thinkers or forward thinkers, but all three can apply. So as you continue to listen, just insert your interpretation for faithful, forward, and future. I'm most excited about this type of person because we all need this person in our lives. In fact, I think the world needs more future and faithful thinkers because they tend to walk with hope and aren't typically tripped up by the present-day trials of our lives. In a day and age where we are digesting the bad news around the clock, it's easy to believe that we are doomed as humanity. I personally need a faithful thinker to put things in perspective and remind me that it's going to be okay. We all need to know that it's going to be okay. King Solomon has given the world a lot to think about. King Solomon's main theme was pointing to the trickiness of how we spend our time, and then he simplified it for us into kindergarten level. Either we spend our time doing good or doing bad. This is pretty simple instructions on how to do life. But we as a humanity play mind games. We play mind games all day long. We worry, then we strive because we worry. And in this toil of 70,000 thoughts a day, we are faced with daily ups and downs all day long and all life long as we try to get it right. We try to get it right for ourselves. We try to get it right for our kids. This emotional wrestling match happens day after day and after day. And though we fail daily, we still have hope. We must give accolades to our faithful thinkers who are here on this earth to remind us, inspire us, and point us forward and push us through our darkest thoughts and our situations. In this series on our thoughts, I have pointed out that quick thinkers are in the moment. Deep thinkers have a keen ability to connect to the past, but it is our faithful thinkers who are our visionaries. They are very well aware of the past and of the present, but they have a gift of optimism. They can look at hopelessness in the face and say it's going to be okay. Faithful thinkers encourage, and at times we wrongfully label them with toxic positivity. However, their intentions are well because they just don't always know how to read the room like their counterparts of the improv thinker and the deep thinker. Faithful thinkers see the bigger picture, similar to the deep thinkers, but they don't necessarily have to connect the dots. Deep thinkers do that for them. We typically find faithful thinkers in the pulpit, coaching athletes, inspiring stages, in therapeutic environments, and leading nonprofits. They aren't only encouragers, they are born to lift people for a common purpose. Inherently, they are good people because they want to see the good of humankind at full force. They are a glimmer of hope in our darkest hours because of the power of their words. Those words that helps us see things when we are blinded in the dark. Why do we need hope? Our world is dark. That is why we need hope. The darkness is the corruption and deception and greed and power plays at every corner of this earth. Though we can argue that this world is growing darker, we can look back to King Solomon to say that there is nothing new under the sun. What plagued the world 3,000 years ago is plaguing our world right now. It's a battle of good versus evil. It's easy to look at the past and compare it to where we are at now. In fact, some of us live in the past. Living in the past can be crippling, but it doesn't mean not to look back. Looking back is a good teacher forward. I'm not just speaking to looking back decades ago. This just might be yesterday when we said the wrong thing, overreacted, or made a choice that we can't get off our minds. Yesterday is the past. Regrets, traumas, past negative experiences can put mental roadblocks for our pursuits forward. These roadblocks can take years to navigate around, especially if we are stubbornly trying to figure it out all by ourselves. I don't want to minimize the significance of painful past. If this is you and you're wrestling with something, find someone immediately who can listen and to support. We need community, especially friends who are faithful thinkers. Beyond that, we need faithful listeners when the negativity gets the best of us. If this is not you, be that person to someone that needs you. The present day has enough troubles of its own without even looking back. Our screens are infiltrated with the lure of the dark world, and we've become so numb to what we are hearing and seeing. But the people that are suffering the most with mental wellness are our children. This next generation is coming up in an age where technology is going much faster than their brain development. Parents, we must wake up and discern what is good and appropriate for our children to digest. Our kids need eye contact. They need hugs. They need consistent love and patience. They need to be taught wisdom. Lessons are better caught than taught. So parents, how are we modeling this for our kids? We all need good news. We need to know that though history always repeats itself, there is a greater hope. We need reminders from our forward thinkers, our faithful encouragers, and those who let their light shine for the good of others. When we have the right mindset and perspective, we can look back at the past and realize that it has some lessons that we can use for our path forward. Forward and faithful thinkers are like the GPS systems of our thoughts. Their words can penetrate our worries and redirect them right out of our heads. It's why we need to surround ourselves with healthy relationships. With this, I want to remind you that we do have hope, and it's in the good news. We have reason to get back up again. And when we are in a hot mess, or we are the hot mess, we still have reason to believe that there will be better days. I find it fascinating that some of our most memorable scriptures in the Bible are about our inner thoughts. Even outside of Ecclesiastes, the Bible is laced with scriptures that are like water on a hot day on what to do with our stinky thinking, our hopeless days, and when our worries consume us. With that, I've created a 5-day journal template called Out of My Head, Into My Heart. This template has one verse and then a few journal prompts to help you turn your worries into gratefulness, hope, and positivity. And the fun part about this journal is that it will take no longer than 5 minutes and it's free. If you have a tough week coming up, or If you are coming out of a tough week, or if you are just in the midst of a tough season, download the Out of My Head, Into My Heart journal template. Take 5 minutes for yourself for the next 5 days to start kicking your inner demons in the butt and out of your head. If you're not part of my email list, sign up to get a link to this digital journal and to receive links to all the other resources mentioned in this podcast at ownyour5to9.com. Regardless of the way you think, or if you journal or if you don't journal, try to take time daily to quiet the noise and to be alone with your thoughts. Reflect back during this time, but only briefly, and then count the blessings for the present moment. It's going to be okay. We have hope. Thank you for listening to the Work Life Eubiosys podcast, part of the Work Life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all, and your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and to submit your story. While you're there, join the Work Life Eubiosys newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Shared with a friend or a loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.